Hi, I'm Micha, Head of Product at MyHours. Managing your team with pen, paper, email, or spreadsheets becomes a nightmare pretty fast, especially when you want to track working hours and costs as well. Analyzing it all is almost impossible without a better tool. That is why we built MyHours. With MyHours, you can organize your projects into tasks and assign them to team members with all the details. Set precise hourly rates, project budgets, and estimate tasks. Track billable time and expenses with detailed descriptions. Analyze hours, billable amounts, and costs, and create custom reports for clients. Manage your team with advanced features like tracking reminders, approval workflow, audit logs, and more. It works on both iOS and Android smartphones and connects with hundreds of other tools like QuickBooks, Trello, Asana, and more. But before I show you what MyHours can do for you, I need to mention that MyHours has the best customer support, rated by independent firms Gartner, Capterra, and G2. Now, let's start with how MyHours organizes your clients, projects, and tasks. Here's what we'll cover in this section. Creating a project with all its settings, adding team members to a project, managing tasks, and adding a project budget or task estimates. Starting with the project section, you'll be greeted with all your projects. You can group projects by client to create a folder-like system. Let's add a new project. Give it a name and assign a client. Here you can select from your list of clients, which you can enter manually or import via our import features. We can create a new one right now. You can enter any type of text into description, even titles or links are okay. This description will be available to other admins and project managers. Moving to the most important part, billable settings. If you want to set billable rates, you need to select one of the three possible options. With project rate, all time logs on this project will have the same billable rate. While with task-based rate, you can set billable rates for each individual task. Last one, member-based rate, is for those that set billable rates depending on the person performing the task. Below you can see the formula the system uses to calculate billable amounts. In case you want to have a consistent structure of rounding your time, MyHours can automatically round your time before billable amount is calculated. Let's go with round up to the nearest 15-minute interval. This will result in replacing, for example, hour and 5 minutes to hour and 15 minutes. Of course, the actual time is preserved for internal reporting or payroll calculations. For now, let's create this project by clicking Save. Voila! This is an overview of our new project. Mostly empty, so let's start by adding members in the top bar. I'm already assigned as I created the project and I can add more members, either one by one or in bulk. All assigned members will be able to add hours to this project. Members with project manager or admin role will have full access to the project and associated time logs. I'll explain roles in detail later in the team chapter. Now let's go back. You can track time on projects without tasks, but most of the time you'll need more structure. With MyHours, you can create multiple task lists, each with their own set of tasks. Let's create a new task list and enter task's name. Assign a task to a team member to remind them of their responsibility. Each member will be able to view all their assigned tasks on the track page, as I'll show you in the next chapter. You can also add a description, which will also be presented to the assignee. And since we've selected a task-based billable rate, we can specify the rate here and add the task. We can add another list. Add 3 quick tasks 1, 2, 3, and call it recurring tasks. Using task templates, you can quickly add multiple tasks with associated billable rates, like this. But I want these to be higher up as a function of priority and complete the last two. Project members can still add logs to completed tasks, but once you archive them, they are hidden from the track section and users can no longer add time to it. Of course, you can still view them in reports or restore them back if you decide to do so later. Last thing we can do here is also the most powerful one: adding a project budget. Adding a budget will remind team members what the agreed target is and how close you are to reaching it. An email will be sent to assigned admins and project managers when 80% of the budget is spent. You can set the budget to monitor hours, billable amounts, or costs. Set it as a project or task-based budget, where task-based budget can be used to set so-called task estimates. And lastly, if you work with monthly retainers, you can switch to monthly budget. That means that spend budget will be calculated from the logs of the current month, not all logs on the project. Great, all done. Lastly, you can create project templates such as this one and make copies whenever you need a similar project. Copying a project will create a new project with the same settings, project members, task lists, and budget as the original. This is all on the topic of projects. Now let's add some time logs to this project and move to the track section. In this chapter, you'll learn how to add a time log manually or use the timer. Append details like expenses and attachments. Enter time in bulk with timesheet view, and a few ways to speed up the process using favorites and keyboard shortcuts. My work log for today is empty, and I can start the timer by clicking Start or add a new log manually by clicking Add Time Log. Let's search for our project by either its name or client. And again, the same for the task. Administrators and project managers can create new projects or tasks straight from this input by pressing Enter when no project or task is found. Below, we can enter a custom description and even bold some words or add a link. Tags below offer a way to give your logs additional structure. On the right side, enter duration and optionally add start and end times. Expenses input is for any expenses that might occur with relation to this time log, like mileage or software costs. And you can also attach any receipt by dragging it into the description field or clicking the attachment icon. Last part is the calculation of billable amount and costs. If we look closely, you can see how we calculated these values. Billable amount is calculated from the rounded duration, since we decided to round up our time to 15 minutes. We can also decide not to bill this specific log to our client and mark it as not billable. Costs are calculated from non-rounded actual time, as you can see here. You can define labor rate for each specific team member in their settings, as we'll see later in the upcoming chapter. Let's add this log to our timeline. And here it is. Doing this multiple times every day is very time consuming. That's why we added the ability to create log templates called favorite logs. It's very simple to add them, and as you can see, I already created some. Now about the timer. We can start it by clicking Start at the top. Another way is to enter details in the standard form, but leaving duration empty, which will also start the timer with your details. Switching between tasks is easy. Simply click Start New, and the previous timer was stopped, and a new one started. Click Stop when you're finished for the day. I also have a few assigned tasks which were assigned to me in the project section. I can see tasks name, related project, and tasks description. Clicking Add Time Log will populate the form for me. Project managers and administrators can complete assigned tasks as well. Add logs to any past or future dates by selecting a different day in the header above. And if you do not intend to add logs in real time, you can add them in bulk by switching to Weekly Timesheet View. Here you can simply select a project and a task and enter hours for the entire week. You can do it really fast with just the keyboard. Tap, 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 and we're done. Since we're at keyboard shortcuts, let's go back to the normal track view. Here you can move between days by pressing left or right keys. Then press A to open the time log form and escape to close it. Last thing to mention is that we've optimized the log form so you can move quickly between inputs with only your keyboard. Like this. Press enter in the start or end field to enter the current timestamp. And hit Ctrl Enter to submit the form. In the next section, I'll also show you how to add time logs for other team members as well. And that's it on the subject of adding work logs. In the reports section, you can analyze and report your work. In this chapter, you'll learn how to start with a dashboard, dig deeper with the activity report, customize and schedule reports to email, manage logs of your team, and discover advanced reporting like economy and team pivot. Opening Reports tab, you'll notice that Dashboard is the first of the 5 reports MyHours offers. At the top of every report, you'll find filters. You can filter by date range, team members, clients, and projects. Below filters are some stats, out of which you can quickly see your progress and how that compares to the previous period. Here we have total hours and billable hours, where the percentage shows the difference between the two. Second half displays billable amount and average billable rate, where you can see if you're charging more compared to the previous date range. In the activity chart below, you can examine how this month or week is being spent. For example, you can see that on the last Friday, a significant portion of non-billable time was logged, and I should maybe dig deeper. You can also view this chart by month or week and see average logged hours by selected period, week in this case. Below the activity chart is our most powerful section called distribution. The chart will show the top 10 projects and tasks together with visual presentation of logged hours and billable amounts. You can quickly see which are the most profitable projects or tasks, as well as compare their stats. In the table below are some useful links that will take you to the activity report where you can dive deeper into the specifics of these logs. You can also switch to display clients and show only billable amounts, like this. Download this section with the download button in the top right corner. Excel report is handy when you need to edit anything before you send the PDF version to your client or boss. Last part on the dashboard is the team section. As the name suggests, here are your team members ordered by most active. You can also see how much of their time is billable versus non-billable in this chart. Below the chart and the table is a short list of all the team members that have not logged any hours in the selected range. You might want to remind them to add their time logs, or not if they were on leave, for example. I almost forgot. You can jump to other reports without losing filters you selected by clicking on these links below the tables. Next stop, activity report. It's our most detailed report with all the bells and whistles. Again, filters in the top section. But in this report, there are more to choose from, like billable filter when you want to see only non-billable or billable logs. Below filters are some simple stats and a button to add logs on behalf of your team. First, select a team member and then add all the details, just like in a regular time log form. On the right side, you can customize your report with column chooser, level of detail switch, and grouping function. By default, logs in activity report are grouped by day, but you can also group them by week, month, client, project, or task. Grouping by team member is especially useful, so I'll go with this one. With all these changes made, we need to save these settings to our default report up here. Great, that's our default report. You can save multiple reports and even schedule them via email to yourself, your team, or even any of your clients. For example, let's create a weekly report for one of our clients called Jack. Select Jack, click Save Schedule button, select weekly period, and instead of scheduling it to myself, I'll select Jack and save. All your saved reports are available up here in the Save Reports dropdown. Before you send a report to your client, you usually need to check if everything is in order. If something doesn't look right, you can change it right on the spot. In case multiple logs are incorrectly entered, you can edit them in bulk, like this. When you're satisfied with the result, you can simply download the PDF version of this report, or open it as a spreadsheet and make any corrections before sending it as a PDF to the client. Export feature is handy when you need all the data, not just the displayed columns. Let's move to some of the other reports. First, the most common one is timesheet, where you'll see what your team has been working on in a weekly fashion. It's nicely grouped by team member and then below by projects and tasks the person has been working on in a given week. Of course, you can save it as a spreadsheet. Next one, Team Pivot Report, which is a very powerful report. You can view all your team members in the top bar and clients, projects, or tasks on the left axis. Again, you can customize it a bit and save it as a spreadsheet. And here comes the best thing about this report. With the export option, you'll get a full-on pivot table that you can play with further in your preferred spreadsheet software. Economy is the last report that I'll go through, I promise. Here you'll see how you're doing with regards to profit and loss. See which projects are most profitable and which are loss makers. And while we're on the topic of economy, I'll explain how we calculate these numbers. Billable amount is the amount that you charge to your clients. It is calculated from your billable rate, billable hours, and billable expenses. When adding or editing a log, you can select which hours and expenses are billable or which are not. Labor costs are calculated from the labor rate, which you can define on each team member in the team section. Of course, all hours, billable or not, are used to calculate labor cost. When you add all expenses to the mix, you get total costs, which we'll soon bring to this report. Before we move to the next chapter, I'd like to explain how roles affect the visibility of reports. Both Economy and Pivot Report are available only to administrators, while project managers and normal members can view dashboard, activity, and timesheet reports. Project managers cannot see logs on projects they are not assigned to, and normal members can only see their own logs. In the account settings, you can hide rates from non-admin roles. We're done with the reporting section. In the clients chapter, you'll learn how to manage clients and create invoices. Starting with the clients page, you can add or edit your client list. When adding a client, we suggest that you at least enter their email address so you can send them a report straight to their inbox. If you intend to use the invoicing feature, enter all details you'd like to display on the invoice. In the account admin, you can import your clients from a spreadsheet if you have one. Moving to the invoicing section. I already have a few invoices, but I can create a new one by moving to the uninvoiced page. First, select the date range you want to generate an invoice for example, last month. Then select a project you need the invoice for and click Create Invoice. We've created a draft which we can further customize before generating a PDF. You can set default invoice settings in the account admin section. After you're done, click Create Invoice. You can send this invoice straight to your client or download the PDF or send it manually. When you get paid, you can set its status to paid and enter paid on date to the invoice. Logs that were invoiced are now locked and cannot be changed in any manner. Last section is all about team management. You can invite your teammates and set their roles, set up labor rates to calculate costs, and tag users into teams to speed up reporting in larger organizations. Inviting your team is easy. Just add a new team member with their name and email. They'll receive an invitation via email with instructions to set their password. Once done, they can log their hours on assigned projects and tasks. That is, if they are a normal member, selected in the roles below. In case you need them to also manage their projects and tasks, you should invite them as a project manager. This will enable them to create new projects and manage any project they are assigned to. They will also be able to view all time logs, including rates, in the projects they are a part of. But if you need to, you can hide all rate associated details from non-admin users in the account settings. Team member with an administrator role can view, edit, and delete anything in the account. Below is the hourly rate section, where you can define how much you are paying your team members. This hourly rate will be used to calculate labor costs in your reports. That's it. Let's invite them to My Hours. Since they are new and I already have a bunch of projects in the system, it would be a hassle to assign them one by one. Here you can assign them in bulk. And you can also do that for any of the users already in the system. Okay, done. In a large organization, this list can become quite long and therefore make reporting cumbersome. That's why we added the ability to group users into so-called teams. Let's create a new team called Designers and add users with designer responsibilities to it, like this. Great. Now, when I go to reports, I don't need to find them one by one, but can quickly select them all through Theme Filter. That's it on the topic of team management inside My Hours. Before I let you go, I should mention the price. My Hours starts at $6 per user per month billed annually or $7 billed monthly. There's a free plan that includes basic features for you and your team. I'll highlight the best features that are not included in the free plan. Adding or editing time logs on behalf of your team. Setting custom billable rates, tracking labor costs and budgets. Advanced reports like Team Pivot or Economy and invoicing. Flexible project manager role and some other team features. For more info, contact us via our support channels or schedule a demo with our experts. Bye.